Hi everybody, how are we all doing? I hope we're having a good weekend so far. Today is Friday, 25th of March 2016, which can only mean one thing. Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice has now officially been released in cinemas pretty much across the world. I've seen it twice already, not long just got back from seeing it for the second time. I'm going again later on to see it in about 3.5 hours time for the third time. And I have to say, even after the second viewing, it's much better. Okay, this review is actually going to be a non-spoiler review. I will be doing a spoiler-filled review when I've seen the film for a third time, so that's coming on pretty much later on tonight. Okay, so if you want to hang for that one, great. If you've not seen the movie, this review is for you. If you have seen the movie, you'll need to watch the spoiler-filled review when I've done that one. Okay, so pretty much everybody should now know what the film's about. After the events of Man of Steel, the world was basically shook to its core that there's a being out there who possesses the power of, essentially a god, and if he wanted to, could wipe out the entire world. And we see an older Batman, a more weathered, weary Bruce Wayne, who looks at this alien and believes that he is a threat to mankind. So he sets out to basically stop him, destroy him through whatever means necessary. On the other side of the fence, we have Lex Luthor. Now, this version of Lex Luthor, he's actually the son of an original Lex Luthor. So his name is actually Alexander Luthor, coined the name Lex, obviously, as we all know, and he is evil. He is the Lex that I've read in the comics, the Lex that we are familiar with in the comics. He is the Lex Luthor who is both a mad scientist, absolutely psychotic, plans everything so intricately that you won't even know that he was the one behind whatever was going on. And in this film, whilst they do eventually unfold and reveal what's been going on, for the first part, you actually don't even realise that Lex is involved. And Jesse Eisenberg, I know everybody had their doubts, but he played Lex brilliantly. He doesn't have to be a big guy. He doesn't have to have that physical presence. But just the way that Jesse played the character was just phenomenal. For me, as I say, it's reminded me of the comic books that I've read in the past, and also like Superman animated series as well. Lois Lane is obviously in there. We've got Perry White. There is another member of the Daily Planet that is in this film, if not for a short while. If you read the end credits, you'll know who I'm talking about. But I'm not going to say anything more on that. Who else? I've got to give it to Gal Gadot, because her portrayal as Wonder Woman, Diana Prince, in this film was stupendously brilliant. And just her presence in the film, especially towards the end, it was just brilliant. Seeing Wonder Woman in action on the big screen alongside Batman and Superman, it's like reading the Trinity comics, reading Infinite Crisis, reading Justice League and stuff, and seeing these three work together, just absolutely phenomenal. Really, really amazing to see. But Gal's presence as Wonder Woman is fantastic, absolutely fantastic. So as I say, yeah, so obviously the film, Bruce Wayne, aka Batman, is going after Superman because of what happened in Man of Steel. And what we actually see is whilst the film is about Batman v Superman, remember it's a V, okay? So it's not versus, it's not like a proper long gestated fight between the two characters. It's about the morals. And we've read this in the comics. We've read these morals between Batman and Superman in the comics. We know that one does stand for more hope and sees the good in people, whereas the other one doesn't trust people and always sees the bad in them. However, they do still work together. In the comic books, we've seen that happen. In the animated series, we've seen it happen. In the animated movies, we've seen it happen before. And whilst watching this film, because what I've noticed is when I've read reviews already, and there's a lot of negative reviews, especially from the critics. But fans are also divided, which is not surprising. You're going to have your people who aren't pleased with the film. You're going to have people who are really excited for it as well. The fans are split down the middle. Now, I think the biggest argument for the film was that the storyline wasn't in a straight sort of, direction. It kept veering off in different areas. People were saying how the editing of the film was just all over the place. But to be honest, when I was watching it, I was actually watching it as if it was a comic book. As if I was actually reading a comic book, because you have the beginning. We start off with Bruce Wayne when he's a kid. Then it turns to the events of what happened in Metropolis. Then another scene comes along. Then another. So, yes, it's all over the place, but there's nothing wrong with that. It's going off in tangents, which allows the audience to sort of sit back and think, okay, what is actually going on here? But that's the thing. There's nothing wrong with that, because you can sit back and say, okay, so you have to process what's happened, yes? Don't expect anything simple. It's not a simple story, okay? It does veer off in different directions. I wasn't expecting that, but you know what? I don't have a problem with it, because it still told the primary story in that Batman goes up against Superman, and there's a reason why these two go together. We know the reason why in the film, and eventually, well, when you see it, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. So for all the people, the naysayers out there, still putting this film down, still saying it's not as good as what they were hoping, if people are expecting something of Marvel's caliber, forget it. That's not what's going to happen. Don't expect anything light-hearted and all that sort of stuff. This isn't a Marvel film, okay? I love what Marvel are doing. Let's leave Marvel to do what they're doing. Warner's and DC are doing their own thing. It's good, okay? When Suicide Squad comes out, I'm sure it's going to be a whole different kettle of fish, okay? I watch The Flash, I watch Supergirl, I watch Gotham, and I watch Arrow, and I watch DC's Legends of Tomorrow as well. Each of those TV shows all have a different tone. One isn't going to be the same as the other. Supergirl and The Flash do essentially have the same sort of, light-hearted funness about them. But they do have the darkness about them as well. Arrow, a lot more darkness in there. Gotham, that speaks for itself. DC's Legends of Tomorrow is more mixed, essentially. So, yeah. For me, Warner's doing the dark side of things, fine. I have heard that the Flash movie could potentially be of a more lighter tone, which would work because that's what The Flash is all about. As I say, if you watch the TV series, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Excuse the fact that the camera's a bit pausey in places. I don't know what's going on with my phone at the moment, so I do apologise. But I am still talking, obviously. So, yes, the Flash movie starring Ezra Miller could well have a lighter tone about it, which is not going to be a problem, because that's where eventually when you get to someone like The Flash, you want it to be a more lighter, bit more funny side of things, because Barry Allen can be a bit of a joker at times, especially if you've watched the animated series of Justice League, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. He really is all about wisecracking and, wit and stuff like that. So, yes, that will eventually happen. Now, as I say, watching this film, I now think I have an idea of where the Justice League Part 1 is going to go, how it's going to unfold. It will be interesting, but like I say, when I do my spoiler-filled review, I will just let rip, okay? But for now, this film, it's doing well in terms of money already. It's already made nearly $30 million in America, and has made over $30 million internationally, like elsewhere. So collectively, the movie has already made, in just the space of, say, 48 hours, from Thursday previews, it's made $27.7 million and added $33.1 million overseas as well. So it's doing all right, okay? It's projecting that it's going to make about $160 million throughout the weekend. It could even hit $200 million. This is just in the US, by the way, I'm talking about. I'm not talking about everywhere else. It could make even 200 million, who knows? But the fact is, money-wise, this movie will make a ton of money. Critically, yes, critics aren't going to like it. I'm not expecting the critics to like it. I like it because I'm a comic book fan and I enjoy what I saw on the screen. I love the fact that the comics that I have read over the past 10 years now, and even when I was a little boy, that this is happening on the big screen, and for me, it's a dream come true. It's just seeing these characters that I've grown to know and love and respected, seeing them appear on the big screen. Because when I read a comic, and I'm sure you guys will agree, when you read a comic and you see your character in action, performing those heroic feats that they do, you often say to yourself, imagine how this would look like on the big screen. Just imagine. Just think how this would look. And you picture it in your mind. You think to yourself, oh my God, if that was to happen, that would be awesome. It would really kick serious ass. And you know what? We're getting it. We're getting it from Marvel. We're getting it from 20th Century Fox. We're getting it from Sony. We're getting it from Warner's. We should just embrace what we're seeing and enjoy it. Take a back seat. The general audience as well. I mean, when I came out of the second viewing, yes, there were mixed feelings. But that's not a bad thing. People aren't going to like it. People are going to love it. But at the same time, the general consensus has been that Superman is being portrayed as the hero that we all know and love. And when you watch the film, you will see it. He is portrayed as a hero. He's not the bad guy here. He is seen as, you know, the character that we read in the comics. You know, when I'm not talking about the Golden Age comics, you know, we're not going back to 1938, which is actually mentioned in the film at one point. We're not going back to 1938. I'm sort of talking about, say, in the last sort of couple of decades, essentially. Okay? And whilst there's heavy influence, yes, there is a heavy influence of The Dark Knight Returns in this film, there is a lot more Superman-related comic books and animated series and even films in this movie, more than Batman. There's more influence of Superman, of its source material, than Batman. Okay, when you see the film, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Certain comic books come alive in this film. It's a joy to watch. So forget what the naysayers are saying. Forget what the critics. Go and see it. Make your own mind up. Let me know in the comments below, but don't spoil it. If I see any spoiler-filled comments below, I will delete them. Save those for the spoiler-filled review. Okay, so I'm going to leave it there, but I am going to say, what a film. It's done pretty well. Yes, it does go off in places. No film is perfect. I wasn't expecting an Oscar-winning performance from everybody. Okay, this is a comic book film first and foremost. It's put in a real-life situation. Okay, here's the interesting thing. Right, I watched the latest episode of Most Craved yesterday, and they were talking about how Marvel in the comics, they put their characters in real life situations, and DC they put their characters in as, you know, more fantasy type situation. But on the films, they flipped over. Marvel have gone to the whole fantasy world type situations, and DC Warners are going for the real life situations. So yeah, you see what I mean. So they're mirroring themselves from what's on paper to what's on screen. Yes, granted, in some of the comics on DC side, there are situations that they have used that are real life, put their characters in that situation as well. And I'm sure in Marvel, and I'm sure that whilst I've not read a Marvel comic for like decades, I'm sure Marvel now are putting their characters in more real life situations as well as the fantasy side. Are putting their characters in the fantasy side of things as well as the real life situations as well. So it's something for everybody. It's that simple, something for everybody, you know. We're not going to agree on everything. You can't please everyone. I've said it before, you can't please everyone. But at the same time, we can just all agree that whilst this film may not be perfect, you know, even the Avengers wasn't perfect. Age of Ultron wasn't perfect either. You know, all the Marvel films that have come out to date, You can argue that Captain America Winter Soldier, yes, is the best Marvel film that they have put out so far. Guardians of the Galaxy is in the same league as that as well. But every movie has their faults. No film is without its faults or flaws. Every film has their flaws. So don't go into this film thinking it's going to be an Oscar-worthy performance, because it's not. Okay, don't expect that at all. Expect serious comic book epicness. Okay, whether it's your cup of tea or not, enjoy it for what it is. It is entertaining. It does have emotion in there as well, especially from Lois Lane. Lois Lane, in fact, I would say all the female characters that appear in this film, Lois, Martha, and Diana, they are pivotal to the story. Okay, that in this film, very pivotal, and they all have they're well represented. Okay, the ladies in this film are well represented. The focus isn't just on Batman and Superman and Lex Luthor. The ladies of this film are also well represented, so that's good. So let me know what you thought without spoiling it for everybody else. As I say, I'm going to get ready now to see it for a third time tonight. I'm seeing it twice again tomorrow, once on Sunday and then twice again on Monday. So I'm really looking forward to multiple viewings just to really soak in everything that I'm seeing so far. So yeah, looking forward to it. Anyway, thank you all very much for watching. I'll see you all very soon.